What do you see wrong with it? What do you see wrong with it?
I see a crack in the glass.
No.
The needle doesn't move.
No, it doesn't.
This is not one of the ones that has a lock on it, so
So it should move.
it should move. So what the frig did you do to it?
It got dropped at work.
Oh, did you? Oh, it must have slipped out of there. Actually, damn. If I was ballsy, I'd take it apart because I know what the inside of these looks like.
That's what's going to happen to it sometime later this weekend. How do you sweep in a drill
Carefully.
at work in a live station?
In a live
What is your process?
My process generally is to keep everything clean first. So, I mean, do you want the whole thing or do you want the idiot-proof version?
Yes.
Okay, so the idiot-proof version is essentially, I'll take out the collet, the ring, and everything else, and I'll get that whole set clean. You'll take a little like hobby knife, and you'll get in the crevices of the collet, the slots in the collet, and clean everything out and blow it all out. And then make sure all the threads are clean for the ring and everything else. Make the inside of the taper clean, like properly, like nice and light down. I don't necessarily want to eat off of it, but I could if I wanted to.
At any point, do you put a rag into the throat of the collet?
Into the taper?
Into the throat where the body goes?
Not usually.
No. Is there any reason why you wouldn't?
Because I don't want little bits of fiber stuck in there from the rag. It doesn't seem like it will do much, but
it can cause the drill to be
you gotta think.
favored to one side.
You gotta think a human hair is 3 thou, generally. So
3 to 4, depending on who you ask.
well, depending on if it's a blonde or a redhead or. So generally on a drill, especially a live drill, you want something less than 5/10. For me, that's usually what works. So keeping fibers out of the inside of that thing is like priority number 1. Keeping the inside of the collet throat clean, keeping the taper clean, because you have this thing that mates to the collet, and then the collet mates to the taper, and then the ring actually is pressing that thing into the taper, hopefully straight, you know, because the ring might thread on and then it might do this or this to your drill, something like that. So after all that's been done, you'll generally sweep in the drill using your y-axis and your x-axis as best as you can to get it to less than 1 thou. And you'll go up and down the top just as any normal person would want to do. And that takes some practice, and if you're not really used to it and you're new at it, you'll be chasing your tail for a little bit.
Do you check, in a live drill, do you check the runout of the drill in the live station?
Yes.
Do you do that before or after you do your sweep?
I do it before I sweep. Because if I know that I have a 1/2 thou run out in my station, then I'm never going to get less than a 1/2 thou. Because that's just, again, you're going to be chasing your tail. I would say if you have more than a 1/2 thou of the drill spinning running out in the center of the station, I'd say you'll get another collet or check how it's made it up in there.
Or
right.
Check how dirty, clean it is, if it's wet, or a rag fiber.
Anything like that. Hairs, beard hairs, blonde hairs, either or. You'll check your run out, you'll sweep it, and then what I like to do is, and some people don't know how to do this or don't know to do this, is especially on a longer drill, this is what, an 8 times?
Yep.
So 5 to 12 times. Generally is what you're going to be using on something like this, which is a 343 drill, which we'll be using for a, 827 taper, which is an extremely common drill size. And those are extremely common lengths, is 5, 8, 12, 15, and for some people even longer than that, but that's redonkulous. What you'll do is you'll get your indicator and you'll put the needle of your indicator in line perpendicular to the length of the drill. And then you'll rotate your drill by hand, not with the machine, but you'll rotate it by hand in the station, and you'll find the high spot. And then, generally what I like to do is you'll take a piece of brass. If you use a wrench or anything else, anything steel will start to crack the carbide pretty much instantaneously. You'll find your high spot, you'll put your index finger on it, or pinky finger, or whatever hefty piece of meat that you have, and you'll use it to kind of dampen any energy that's going to vibrate in the drill. And you'll take your piece of brass and you'll thwack the high spot. You'll rotate it again. This might take a few minutes. It takes me generally about 2-3 minutes to do it, depending on the length of the drill. The longer the drill, the more runout you're going to have, the harder it's going to be. Because you're going to actually have to hit it pretty friggin' hard. A lot harder than you think you need to. It's brass, it won't do anything, it'll take it. The drill generally will take it. I will hit the base of the drill, and I'll keep my index finger on the actual tip of the drill, and then I'll rotate it, find my high spot, and if I get it less than a half thou, I'm good to go. And this works really great because on these 343 drills, our standard high for how big that hole can be is 344.1. The drill is 343. So if you have more than a half thou worth of runout in there, you're going to start pushing your no-go in there every single time, and you're going to be fighting it, and you're going to be like, what the hell's going on? And you'll be re-sweeping your drill, and then you'll be like, man, I'm getting pissed off at this thing. I know the drill is the right size. I know I'm sweeped in.
So you're hitting this for the purpose of straightening the drill.
Straightening the drill's runout relative to the collet.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So, and you might have nothing back here. You might have nothing on the shank, but at the tip, you might have a thou and a half. And a thou and a half, when you have a 1 thou tolerance on a drill diameter, it ain't gonna work. It'll cut just fine. In fact, it'll cut all day long. And if you don't care, it's fine. And realistically, for a grease hole with a tap in it, it doesn't matter. But I'm not the one who writes the print. I just have to follow it.
Oh, and on that note too, in a live station no less, the drill is going to make its own hole. The drill is going to follow its own path.
Mm-hmm.
It won't even stay centered. So at what point does the drill walking off start to affect the cross hole you do? Or if you have two holes that are supposed to meet, at what point do they not meet anymore because they're walking?
Well, it depends. If you have runout in your part, you're definitely going to have a problem. But I don't know any inspection department, or I've not ran into any inspection department, that if you have a long ass hole, that they're going to run a no-go and go gauge through the entire 8-inch length of a hole. They're going to go, does it start? No. Does the no-go start? No. It's good to go. They're not going to take an 8-inch no-go gauge that's been ground and polished and been perfect and is hopefully straight, and they're going to stuff it all the way down this thing and see if it's going to fit through the other side. It depends on your application. If it's for a grease hole, which is basically what this is,
Yep.
or who cares, grease is going to pump through any hole, basically no matter what. However, if you have a pin that you have to have perfect, you basically have to take those 4 things in account. If you have a pin that has to pass through both ways, the entire length of the hole from both sides, and it can't be bound up and it has to spin freely or something like that, is the drill base straight? Is the tip straight? Is this running out right? Is everything in the drill running out okay? Then you have to look at things, is the part running out okay? If the part has more than a thou in it, well, what are you going to get? You're going to get a step.
Yep. Well, then, by then you also have, if you're using a live tool, is the tool spinning too fast at the start where it's flopping around?
So that's the other thing. That's the other thing I was going to mention is generally what I like to do is I like to spin it slow, or I like to have a point for the drill to start it in the hole. So you spin it slow, like 900 RPM relative for something like this, and then you ramp it up to like 3600 RPM, and then you start drilling like a proper drill should.
But the
But
900
if
RPM?
it's yeah, 900 RPM at this length of drill is going to be okay. It's not going to do much, but at say a 25 times D drill, and you start spinning it past 1000 RPM outside of a hole, it's going to friggin' lip. And I've seen it happen before. Smaller diameter drills that are really, really long, and you spin it up to 7000 RPM in a mill, because they can do that. It'll just whip the damn drill off and launch it across the machine. You'll have carbide dust friggin' everywhere. And you'll go, damn, I just lost $600 worth of drill.
Yeah. You guys use live stations. I don't. I'm against them. For a center hole, I'm against them. I have a video on this. Why do you use a live station versus me using a dead station or non-live? Why don't you spin the part for a center hole?
Well, under a certain diameter drill, you're not going to be able to keep up. Your spindle's not going to be able to keep up with the part. And for the application, the grease hole in 1045, the drill's not really going to walk. And we're not using lengths that are long enough that it will be a problem. If I was properly concerned, if I was actually concerned about a really long drill going a really long depth, I would put it in a horizontal mill. I wouldn't even bother with the lathe.
But it needs to be a center hole. Doing that in a horizontal mill, you still have to sweep it into a point. And if you're not sweeping on something already turned and accurate, even if you're on ground polish OD, you'll still never get it within about a thou or less.
So you have to understand your application at that point.
Right, and that gets into more of your setup, your machine capability, how straight your machine is, if it's 35 years old, or if it's 2 weeks old, unless it's been horribly crashed.
Yeah, the other... yeah, that was fun. For this, if you were to measure something, even a 25 times D 343 drill in a live station, if the machine is well taken care of, it will drill a center hole just fine, and it'll drill it straight. In a live station, a lot of times where I see people stumble a lot with this is that you're using your Z to push that drill in there, right? Well, a lot of times the Z has a lot of this in it. Has a lot of X in it too that people don't realize. It's taper. Sometimes when you get into longer drills, you'll start snapping them when they get to a certain point, and you have to realize that the machine has taper in it, and there's not really a good way to account for that when you're drilling a hole.
So you're saying as the machine traverses on its ways, on its
its
linear
Z-axis,
guides,
it will drop or it will rise depending on what part of the machine has been used. So a longer drill, I've seen them snap because of that exact thing, because you might lose 5 thou and X going down or up or something like that, and this thing does not do 5 thou.
$5 on a longer drill might be okay until you start to get to using the full depth of the flute.
Once you get to the full depth of the flute, then you're
it's got
probably
problems.
going to snap it.
Yeah.
You really are probably going to snap it. The 5 thou doesn't seem like a lot, but the drill cares.
at the end of it, the 5 thou will bend and move a little bit.
Mhm.
But again, you get 8 inches, 9 inches deep into it.
Yeah.
It has nowhere to bend anymore.
Nope.
Now there's a part in the way.
Yeah.
Another thing you'll see is a triangular hole. You'll see a triangular base hole
Mm-hmm.
at the end of it. And that's from the drill walking and stepping.
Walking
Not
and then not
cutting.
running out right. It does
Yep.
this as it goes down to the bottom of the hole. Which is fine if you're broaching, but if you're drilling, if you're using a rotary broach, you want it to wobble. But these things,
They don't like it.
they don't like to wobble. I mean, those of you at home, if you want to grab a high-speed steel drill, which has quite a bit more tolerance than a carbide one, stuff it in your drill, and then stuff it into a piece of wood and try to move it around. Yeah, have fun with that.
Right hand,
Oh yeah,
Left-handed.
this is the weird left-handed drill. Speaking of things that you can put in a hand drill and have use of, and for walking around doing weird stuff, is the left-handed drill can drill out stuck bits of what used to be a screw head or a bolt head.
or you shove that in a drill and you fuck with somebody.
Oh yeah. You ever do the 3D printed carbide end mill?
No, but I need to, damn it.
Yeah, it's really funny.